Okay, now we should be live. So let me just double check. And all right, there we go. All right, hey everybody. Sorry, this stream might be a little last minute. But yeah, for anyone who is available, anyone who's awake, we welcome you. And yeah, we're back here today with King Bun, who has some updates for us from Taiwan. We've got some news about stuff happening in Ukraine and in the United States. We're going to touch on a couple of different topics today. And King Bun, how have things been with you?
Okay, so it's my time, right?
Yeah. We're live.
Yeah,
So
yeah. First of all, let's update for our Congress. Um, in the last time we talked, like we mentioned about the Congress, the legislative yuan. Oh, that's the name. Okay, the the Congress are pretty dominant by the pro China sect. But the president, the government, is pro Taiwanese sect, DPP. So this caused conflict during, like since 2024 to now, till now, that many budgets were kicked off, and many uh, many ridiculous acts which even against the constitution had passed. So yeah, so for how to say for rescue our country, we hold a great recall. We record 31 congressmen for the pro-Chinese sect, the KMT,
yeah,
and which is huge because we only have 113 legislators in the Congress. So we record 31 of them. And all of them are from KMT, all of them are from the pro-China party. They also want to have a recall, but they failed totally during the petition. So some we have this mobilization. But after last 2 weeks, I think it's in July 26th. Yeah, July 26th. There are 26 recall. They are totally fail. They totally fail. So they are still in their position. That's the bad news.
yeah. It's yeah, it's not been good. Honestly, looking at the situation in a lot of countries today and who's been winning in the politics, it's bad. It's especially bad though with that result in Taiwan. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
yep.
the KMT, they use all of the resources they can do. For example, because in this record, there those legislator they can't have the donation, political donation. They don't have this process, but they still need money, right? So they are like they control many cities. There's many city government. So their city governments make many uh, constructions for the road, for the light, something like that. They they spend money for the construction and they can get the donation from those companies. Yeah. So
Yeah.
in in the community I live, the roads I live, the nearby has been constructed for three times in the last month. Until now, they are still working.
Wow.
They just make the wall and break the wall and make the wall and break the wall for 3 times. They just do it for money.
Mm.
Yeah, many people don't aware that. They just feel annoying. Like, why is always fixing the same role for nothing?
Yeah.
And, and when I told them it's for the money, for the record, and they just, is that really happen? They don't believe that. People are very innocent, very cute.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I believe that. People are very unaware about what's happening in the world right now. And it's always like that. I feel like if you went back in time to World War I or World War II or right before the Vietnam War or right before a lot of major events in history, people are just living their lives, and a lot of them, the whole world can be burning around them, and they they won't notice until it's too late. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
when they realize that they are in the trench.
yeah, exactly. All right. Well, so we've got a couple of articles here. So let's see. First, oh, and before we jump into the articles, we are on Restream today, so you're not going to see the donation bars that we usually have. But we are about $165 away from the radios for the Civil Defense Force that King Bun works with. And so I unfortunately had my old phone break, and I don't have it set up right now for making a donation, but I'm going to do another $100 toward that. So if anyone wants to make a donation over Streamlabs, the link, uh, I'll put the link into the chat. Um, then feel free to. And we'll get other things like the YouTube donation box fixed up so that people can use that again in the future soon. All right.
So much. We also want to invest like, what's the currency rate? Probably 1,000 and few hundreds
Uh-huh.
United States dollar. Our group want to invest for those equipments,
Oh,
including the radio, including the uniform, including uh, the AD training thing. We want to invest that. We
oh,
also want to. Yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah.
How many how many people will that cover?
Uh, I think it's not people. It's for the equipment for our training.
Oh,
Training.
okay, for the
We
training.
already trained more than 500 people.
Oh, very good.
We already trained, and we want to invest our tools, our equipment in the training. Yes, yes,
Gotcha.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, cool. Very good, very good. All right, well, let me pull up the news article now. So,
And there will be more 250 volunteers will be trained by us in before the end of the year.
mm.
Yeah, so we are blooming.
Good to know, good to know. All right, let me share the screen. Let's see. Here we go. So I've got two articles. We've got the one that you sent me, and then I have another one from the Brookings Institute. So we'll start with that one about the recall vote, and then we'll jump into uh, the other one that you sent me about the spaceport cooperation.
Yes.
All right. All right, here we go. Taiwan's recall vote. Implications for Taiwan, China, and the United States. So, street signs calling for the recall of Fu Kai-ting, uh, L, a lawmaker of the Taiwan Nationalist Party, or the TNP, who they say is close to China, are seen in Hualien, eastern Taiwan, on July 26, 2025. Taiwan's 2024 election delivered a split. Now, let me make that a little bit bigger. I think it's a little small. There we go. Taiwan's 2024 election delivered a split government with the Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP's standard bearer Lai Ching-te winning the presidency and the opposition Kuomintang, KMT, and the Taiwan People's Party forming a majority coalition in the legislative yuan. This distribution of power generated political gridlock in the period since President Lai and his supporters grew increasingly frustrated with legislative efforts to change the institutional balance of power between the legislative yuan and the executive branch, as well as with the legislative yuan's unwillingness to pass a government wide annual budget bill, which included a proposed increase in defense spending. Lai's supporters began questioning whether opposition legislators were acting at the behest of the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, and whether they should be removed from office for the sake of Taiwan's national defense. For their part, KMT legislators argued they were providing necessary oversight to ensure fiscal discipline and guard against the misuse of taxpayer funds. So I don't ever trust anything the KMT says. um, but
You are
yeah.
you are right. Right to do that.
But yeah, so I know there's a lot that goes into this, but and you had already talked about it a bit. For anyone who is listening, basically there was a recall vote recently, and how many how many politicians was it that were
In the
potentially
record, 31, 31.
31? They're 31, yeah. So
And
31.
there are 113 people in the Congress.
Ooh,
So it's a huge amount.
yeah. And I think all of them, all 31 survived the vote, right?
Yes. Not all. There's another recall in August 23.
Okay.
They separate they separate the time for few administrative reasons. But yeah,
Okay. Gotcha, gotcha. Well, let's see. Let's
yeah, it's
continue.
24 has rejected, and there are seven in August 23.
Ah,
Yes,
okay.
yes,
Um, so, and basically, the significance of that is the fact that, yeah, it is a lot of people associated with a party that is known to be, at best, appeasing the Chinese Communist Party and China as a whole. At worst, sometimes considered potentially working with or undermining Taiwan national security. So
yes.
it's
That's the objective result. But there,
yeah.
this election, there's nothing talking about the international relationship in this election.
Oh yeah.
People cares like people don't care about the international stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's how it is with most countries. People are people are focused on a lot of domestics. I can tell you right now in the U.S. and Canada, and also in Mexico, uh, a lot of those countries are mostly focused on the problems they have at home. um, and there's a lot of them. All right, so this frustration coalesced in a grassroots campaign to recall. Yep, here we go. To recall KMT legislators. The first recall vote occurred on July 26th, with the next round of recall votes scheduled in August. In the end, not a single. Oh, well, in the first round, not a single KMT legislator was recalled, and all 24 KMT legislators retained their seats. This result was a rebuke to Lai and his DPP supporters. Even though Lai himself did not instigate the recall effort, voters demonstrated through their vote that they did not subscribe to the recall proponents' arguments that KMT legislators were obstructing Lai's agenda at Beijing's direction. Voters instead favored allowing elected KMT legislators to fulfill their terms in office. Not even accusations of treason were enough to galvanize Taiwan public opinion against the KMT legislators up for recall. Um, and as a result, let's see. Let me. Oh, this is a long article, but it does cover quite a bit. The views from Taiwan, from China, and from the United States. So I think it's good to go over a bit more. Um, Taiwan's government remains divided. In the end, Taiwan's government remains divided just as it was before the recall election. A key question going forward will be whether the KMT will be able to capitalize on this result and build public support for its vision for Taiwan's future. To do so, the KMT will need to develop a compelling appeal to Taiwan's young voters, many of whom are alienated from both major political parties and thus serve as a swing vote. The KMT's first test will be elections for local leaders in late 2026. Historically, the KMT outperforms the DPP in local elections. The KMT currently holds 14 out of 22 local government districts. If this trend continues during the next local elections in late 2026, the KMT will have no momentum heading into Taiwan's next presidential and legislative elections in January of 2028. 2028 is going to be a stressful year.
Yeah.
With but
Then
yeah.
this is the last way to replace to change the structure in Congress in the yuan and in legal way. This
Mhm.
is the last chance, which means the Taiwanese supporter they have become more radical now
Mm. Oh,
because there's no legal way to change it.
before I forget, let me put the link to this article in the chat for people.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Oh, I'm just putting the link for this that we're reading in
Oh yes,
the
yeah. Please,
yeah,
please share
yeah.
to people. Yes.
Here we go. So, well, because it's a long article and we have more than one article to go over, I'm just going to go a little over the rest of this. So, we'll go down to the view from Beijing, the Chinese view, and then we'll do the Washington view, United States. From Beijing's perspective, the best scenario in Taiwan is a government that is supportive of official engagement across the Taiwan Strait. Beijing has unilaterally determined that Taiwan's leader must adhere to a consensus, e.g., the 1992 consensus, whereby both sides agree there is only one China as a prerequisite for official engagement. Um, so the one China policy, one China, two systems, whatever that means. Um,
They're always saying that.
they're always saying that. A second best outcome for Beijing
Like
is.
saying hallelujah. One China policy. One China policy.
uh, that one China policy. It's funny. I get the feeling that eventually that one China system, you know, one day it's Hong Kong, one day it's Taiwan, one day it'll be Bhutan, one day it'll be pieces of India. It's almost like, there's no real end. It's so
I mean, they're
weird.
communists. What do you expect? Do you
Yeah.
expect that communists confirm the law?
No, absolutely not. Well,
Ah,
and it's not even just communist. They're communist, but also nationalist. They're very, very.
and it'll be worse.
Yeah, exactly. A second best outcome for Beijing is a divided government. Beijing assumes that democratic checks and balances under a divided government will prevent Taiwan from taking precipitous actions such as moving toward permanent independence. From Beijing's perspective, the worst case outcome is a unified government under DPP control. So, this right here, um, China keeping Taiwan divided, it plays into their long term plans because
Yeah,
China, ultimately, China wants to find ways to get what it wants, not just from Taiwan, but from a lot of countries. They want more contested land with Bhutan because Bhutan is kind of seen as a threat because of the memory of everything with Tibet and
yeah,
the same thing with parts of India that they believe are part of China. Taiwan, obviously, because they see Taiwan as a threat. We already saw what happened to Hong Kong. Everyone knows what happened to Hong Kong. So, I mean, if they can get what they want without a large war, like a war like in Ukraine, then that's what they prefer. But yeah, they something has to be done to disrupt China because this can't be allowed to go on. It's imperialistic, it's horrible, and we focus a lot on Russia here on this channel because what they do is horrible, but we can't let China go under the radar.
yeah.
China's not untouchable. China, just like every other country in the world, these things go in cycles, and China won't be there forever. We need to push back against them. All
True.
right. So during the recall campaign, Chinese officials and state media defended KMT legislators, presenting them as victims of political persecution by the DPP. Oh, geez. They accused Lai and his DPP supporters of trying to suppress dissent and impose dictatorial powers on the people of Taiwan. In an Orwellian twist, they also urged Taiwan voters to uphold democratic norms by rejecting the recall campaign. So, I mean, we're all aware of this. China has a lot of propaganda. They have a lot of, unfortunately, influence inside of Taiwan, very similar to the influence we saw before the invasion years ago in Ukraine, the Russian influence in eastern Ukraine before invading. Even today, you know, just not too long ago, there was all the anger about the uh, possible bill that would remove independent control of
Yes.
anti corruption agencies in Ukraine and put them
Yes.
under the government's control. And so many people were angry, and that anger is something that Russia can guide.
Yeah.
They can use to their advantage. China does the same
Manipulate
thing.
his opinion.
Exactly, exactly. All right, so let's go ahead and go now to the view from Washington. Check out the link if you want to read the rest, everybody. The view from Washington. Trump administration officials did not make any public comments about the recall campaign or its results. This likely reflects a deliberate decision by the United States not to interfere in Taiwan's internal political processes. America's foremost interest in the Taiwan Strait is to uphold peace and stability. The outcome of the recall campaign has the potential to cut in two directions as it relates to this interest. On the one hand, if the outcome leads to prolonged political gridlock that holds back Taiwan's investments in its national security, it will raise concerns in Washington about Taiwan's readiness for self defense. On the other hand, if the outcome of the recall election funnels political energy into a future oriented contest to persuade voters of who can best protect peace and preserve the status quo, then it could have a moderating effect on Taiwan's political discourse. This would be welcomed in Washington. So, I mean, it's honestly, at the end of the day, the only country that I think that is celebrating it all right now is China,
Yeah.
because the United States doesn't want to get involved in a war or anything anytime soon with all the other things it has going on. So it just is looking to you know, support Taiwan how it can, but kind of maintain a status quo, if you will. Um, and see that Taiwan is also, keeping taking care of its own defense and its own preventing espionage and sabotage from China effectively. Uh, but at the same time, you know, there is a lot of division. There's a lot of problems going on right now in Taiwan, just like in a lot of countries. So um, hopefully there will be a big change sometime in the future because there needs to be more unity to stand against the threat of the Chinese Communist Party. Um, And a major wild card for Washington will be whether Beijing interprets the election results as a license to push further on Taiwan or whether it views the results as validating its long term strategy to wear down the psychological will of the people of Taiwan. If the latter, Beijing conceivably could take a more patient, long term approach to Taiwan. Alternatively, Beijing might feel emboldened by its recent efforts to influence public attitudes in Taiwan and grow even more aggressive in doing so going forward. Um, uh, then it starts to go into a bit about Trump. All right, well let's talk about this so far. So, what do you predict will be it's hard to say the long-term implications because so many things could happen. I
It's
feel yeah,
difficult to predict.
it's because of what?
Like Taiwan, the politics in Taiwan is very very difficult to predict.
Yeah, yeah.
It changes dramatically
Yeah.
in every time. Every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when DPP win in 2016, and they have more than 60%, 65% support rate, then in 2018, it dropped into 40% dramatically. And they're winning way better, like 70% rate in the
Mm,
2020. It
man.
always strange. So I can't predict. But what I can say, what I can say in this moment, the division is become conflict, not only divided in the government but dividing society, because in the record you need to mobilize people to support your your legislator or
Hmm.
against it. So people are mobilized, and they are not pretty. There are some people drive car and want to hit someone else in the opposite side.
Hmm.
Opposite side. Yeah. So there's a term that Chinese say uh, Lebanonized Taiwan. They
Hmm.
want to like Taiwan have the opposite party who are listening to the authoritative government. They want to do that.
Mm.
So that's the issue. And for the people who support uh, Taiwan, for support DPP, and that become awkward, because it's true that there are many domestic things not fixed. People are not happy, and the tariff, the tariff war, the tariff issue also, the Taiwanese people think probably United uh, put a bet on the United States not a good decision. People will think that. Yeah, so that's the issue. But
Mm.
it's not a DPP supporter. We have belief in this country, in this island. We have belief. We have history before, so we can accept that. But many people can't. So it will change the result of the election.
Yeah.
So
I.
that's why only the KMT legislator can be recalled by the petition process, because when they start the petition, they totally fail. They how to say that? They just uh, they just fake it and copy the petition for 96% of the petition. So they are totally failed. Their supporters are not mobilized, are not encouraged,
Mm.
are not encouraged by uh, recall the DPP legislator. Only us, we DPP supporters have this mobilized strength. So yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good point. All right, so let's move on from this article, because we still have others to look at. Let's look at the one that you had sent me. Let's go to a more positive note. So we'll do a bit more on Taiwan, and there we go. On Taiwan, and then we will go over a few things for Ukraine and the United States. So, all right, first, uh, from Taipei Times, and let me put this into the chat for people. Stephen, and oh, also Dumitru Claudio. Welcome. Good to see you both. All right. So next, Taiwan, U.S. mulls spaceport cooperation. An undated photograph shows an artist rendering of Houston spaceport A screen grab from the American Institute in Taiwan's Facebook page. Under review, suborbital flights would cut travel time between Taipei and Houston to 2.5 hours, and uncrewed cargo missions would be the initial focus, the AIT said. I we talked about this before. I it's amazing that we could actually see a suborbital flight from
Yes.
Taipei to Houston before we see a railway from Dallas to Houston. So Uh, all right, let's see. Taiwan and the US are discussing the potential for spaceport cooperation, which could shorten travel time between Taipei and Houston, Texas to 2.5 hours, the American Institute in Taiwan, AIT, said on Monday. The program would expand space cooperation between Taiwan and the US, the AIT said on Facebook, adding that the matter is awaiting further evaluation. Ellington Airport in Houston already has a spaceport license, it said. If suborbital flights are used, it would take only 2.5 hours to travel between Taipei and Houston, the AIT said. And this is interesting because if this becomes a thing, this gives space agencies, not just in the US but also in Taiwan,
Yeah.
good incentive to remain financially viable because then
Yeah.
it's not just theory or bragging rights like in the 19 uh, 60s and 70s in the space race. You know, it's actually, oh no, there are actual customers who need to get from one side of the planet to the other in 2 hours, in 3 hours.
Yeah.
uh, that flight would be insane. The cooperation could initially focus on uncrewed cargo missions before maturing technology enables crewed flights, it added. This concept highlights Taiwan's potential for space innovation and also marks the deep scientific and technological partnership between the United States and Taiwan, the AIT said. The National Science and Technology Council, which oversees the Taiwan Space Agency, yesterday welcomed the expansion of bilateral space cooperation, but added that specific plans for space transportation required further evaluation and discussion. So, yeah, this is very interesting news. And what were your thoughts when you first heard about this?
Yeah. It can break through
Yeah.
the Chinese blockade.
Oh.
It's for national security.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
for national security. Oh, that's
Because they can
go ahead.
maybe they can't, but they may blockade the sea, but they can never blockade the space.
That's true. That's very,
Yeah.
very true. Yeah. Honestly, yeah. And honestly, it also makes for, with that kind of a travel time, um, it does make it so that if you had key assets, if you had certain things that needed to be transported very, very quickly in and out of Taiwan, um, it'd be more possible to do so. The real question would be, especially if it's a flight directly between Taiwan and the United States, it becomes like uh, a message. If China were to attempt to blow up a, a vehicle, blow up an aircraft that were traveling, doing that suborbital flight between the two countries, that's going to be a very big escalation. That's something
Yeah.
that will get the attention of the United States, would be considered an act of war against both Taiwan and the United States. So,
Very true.
yeah, yeah. It's a good way to spit in China's face and say, okay, well, now what do you want to do? Where do you want to go once we start having space flights between Taiwan and America? And
It will
probably
be
up.
like the Berlin crisis in the 50s.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The United States put airplanes and put down the resources to Berlin people.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
In the blockade from Soviet.
And not there were a lot of airdrops in that time period. I remember I think in Cuba they dropped a bunch of Liberator pistols and supplies that were not very effective when they tried to start a civil war in Cuba. They they
Mm-hmm.
they did similar things in a few other places, but um yeah, it Anyway, yeah, interesting throwback in history. All right, so let's see here. The U.S. has 20 spaceports and launch or reentry sites, including the Houston Spaceport, which is located next to Ellington Airport. U.S. Federal Aviation Administration information says that airport focuses on spacecraft development and supports training activities for NASA. All right, the NSTC announced earlier this year that Jiopeng Village in Pingtung County's Mangzhou Township was selected as the location for Taiwan's national launch facility, which current plans focused on launch operations after the site is completed. However, space has been reserved at the site for potential expansion into a spaceport capable of handling landings, the source said. Separately, when asked about the potential spaceport cooperation, Ministry of Foreign Affairs North American Affairs Department Director General Wang Liangyu yesterday said that the ministry does not have details on the issue, but it would be discussed with relevant government agencies and that it would be glad to assist where needed. So, yeah, uh, interesting piece of news to keep track of. And also just kind of nice to hear. It's nice to have some good news with all of the the shit news going around. Okay. Next, I had one very short article we'll go over about Taiwan's military, and then we'll jump into a little bit of information about Ukraine. All right. And as usual, I will put this in the chat. Yeah, good to see you, Stephen. I see your message. All right. Taipei's Defense Expo to spotlight advancements in military tech. Oh, and before I forget, um, I don't want to show it. I want to pin it. I'm going to pin the link for donations to the radios in the chat for everybody. And they are pinned. Okay. Expo. Oh, Expo includes more than 400 companies from 14 countries. And here we see an image
From
of
my
a.
side, the
Oh,
the
is it? Oh,
image is not changed.
oh, there we go. Sorry about
Yeah.
that. Taipei Defense Expo to spotlight advancements in military tech. And here is a drone, a Tengyun 2 drone. Um, and Taipei from Taiwan News. The Taipei Aerospace Defense Technology Exhibition will take place from September 18th to the 20th at Nangang Exhibition Center Hall 1. This year's event will spotlight advanced defense systems and resilient supply chains featuring more than 400 companies from 14 countries, including Lockheed Martin and BAE Systems, CNA reported. Domestic participants include the Taiwan Space Agency, Aerospace Industrial Development Corporation, and Thunder Tiger. Local shipbuilders Zhongxin and CSBC will make their debut at the show, highlighting unmanned surface vehicles and system integration, a significant step forward for Taiwan's autonomous maritime defense capabilities. Taiwan also plans to unveil two upgraded M60A3 tanks equipped with new fire control, targeting, and observation systems, as well as a 105mm barrel. However, there are concerns the tanks may be too heavy for the venue. All right, so yeah, short article, but good to hear. Always happy to see more updates about um, new equipment, about better preparations for the Taiwanese military. Um, and yeah, do you know about this exhibition, or have you, uh, yeah, ever been updated or attended or anything related to this?
Yes, there is a person who work in the anti-plastic plate industry. Yeah,
Hmm.
and so he knows this export exhibition. Yeah, and moreover, and I think the military one is the advanced the most, the advanced most in Taiwan during these years because they are continuous United States officers, their professionals, comes to Taiwan to guide us. Yeah, so in this case, in military aspect, United States really help us a lot. For example, uh, how to say it? Wait a minute. In the movement, military movement, um, in this movement in July for military, they have 2 weeks, 2 weeks exercise, and in these 2 weeks, they really give the people enough bullets and to fire. That's really important, and they really operate the people in the city and on the road in massive scale. In massive scale. So yeah, it happens some car accidents and happens uh, some failures, but this shows that they are really into it. They are really into it. So for the military aspect, I can assure the friends in the world that Taiwan is really into it, really do it very, very hard in hard way. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can assure that.
One thing that I think a lot of people are probably aware of, but maybe it probably doesn't get it really doesn't get mentioned enough is along with uh Israel and well, on again, off again. I wish that there were more support going to Ukraine. Um, Taiwan, uh, I wish it were more, but it does receive a lot more assistance and weapons and training, cooperation from the United States than a lot of other countries. For example, there's a small cooperation with a small country with a very tiny economy like Guyana, because they have the risk of their neighbor invading them, Venezuela.
Mm.
Um, and then the British do a similar thing, a small amount of assistance to Belize because Guatemala, their neighbor, wants to invade Belize. Um, but no, Taiwan, the innovation, ingenuity, and the hard, very hard work of Taiwanese soldiers and engineers, you know, if that weren't there, it wouldn't be possible for Taiwan to be prepared as much as it is in case of an invasion. Yeah. You know,
Yeah,
it,
they try their best. They try their best.
yeah. All right. So let's go now to Ukraine. Um, and as a reminder, we are working on that fundraiser for radios for the Civil Defense Force in Taiwan. We have our usual fundraiser as well, but for this stream, we're focusing on the Taiwanese fundraiser. Um, and assuming I don't get called last minute to drive hours and hours to help protect people against crazy shit in the United States, in different places, we'll have our usual stream on Saturday. Um, I promise, no canceling this time. Okay, let's go to Ukraine news now. And copy. And I am putting the link to this article into the chat. So this is from AP News. NATO to coordinate regular and large-scale arm deliveries to Ukraine. Most will be bought in the US. And this is one thing that I have noticed from a few articles I've gone over uh, that are related to European and United States military collaboration and cooperation. There really are two different strategies, approaches that exist at the exact same time. There's NATO
Yeah,
and its work within European countries to deter and defend against Russia,
yeah,
mostly Russia. Um, and then there's the US with its own individual initiatives and interests. Um, and sometimes they blur and it's hard to tell the difference between the two. They overlap. But there is a difference. The U.S. has its own individual um, deals and alliances with certain countries, and then of course NATO is the big alliance that everyone is aware of. Um, but it's been interesting to see how the strategies have changed over time, especially with some countries like Denmark,
Yeah.
especially with all the crazy shit that Donald Trump says about Denmark and Greenland. All right. Anyway, Brussels, AP. NATO has started coordinating regular deliveries of large weapons packages to Ukraine after the Netherlands said it would provide air defense equipment, ammunition, and other military aid worth 500 million euros, 578 million US dollars. Sweden also announced Tuesday it would contribute $275 million to a joint effort along with its Nordic neighbors, Denmark and Norway, to provide $500 million worth of air defenses, anti-tank weapons, ammunition, and spare parts. Two deliveries of equipment, most of it bought in the United States, are expected this month, although the Nordic package is expected to arrive in September. The equipment is supplied based on Ukraine's priority needs on the battlefield. NATO allies then locate the weapons and ammunition and send them on. So this is good. It's always good to see Europe stepping up, especially the Nordic countries. Um, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland isn't mentioned here, but of course has also been very, very helpful. Um, After the United States, it really is Northern Europe that does, honestly, in a lot of ways, more so than the United States. They just don't have the same amount of money and weapons and resources, but they still have a fair amount. Uh, they put in a lot of effort, and because they know exactly what it's like to deal with Russia trying to commit genocide against you. Um, packages will be prepared rapidly and issued on a regular basis, NATO said Monday. Um, all right, so before I keep going, um, yeah, what are your thoughts so far, I guess, on both US and different European countries' amount of support that they've been providing to Ukraine? Do you feel like it's ramping up? Do you feel like it's still not sufficient? What do you think with what you've heard recently?
Yeah, Donald Trump spent half of year to know that Joe Biden was right to support Ukraine.
Yep, basically.
And he finally realized that Putin is an asshole.
Yeah,
It's not negotiable.
no, it's not. Putin doesn't care about making a deal. All he cares about is what he can get, what he can get away with. Man. Actually,
When Donald Trump said to Zelensky that he has no car, and he forgets that Zelensky's car is in Putin's hand.
the problem with Donald Trump is he has a big ego, but I would say he's very impressionable. And honestly, I don't think he really cares all that much about Russia or Ukraine or Putin or Zelensky. I think there are certain people like Pete Hegseth is a good example, um, who have stronger pro-Russian ideologies. And
Yeah.
Donald Trump, he works with a lot of the with all those people. They're in his cabinet, so he speaks with them regularly. I think he just hears so many positive things about Russia from certain people that, he wants to like Putin, he wants to like Russia. Um, but of
Yeah, he
course,
tried. He tried.
yeah. But the problem is that obviously Americans as a whole do not like Russia. They're not going to like Russia anytime soon. And anyone who has common sense would know that Ukraine is the one who is in need of support in this
And
horrible
most of the
situation.
Russian believe that the reason Ukraine against Russia is because United States support.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, most of Russian believe that.
yeah. Russia. Russia has its own vatniks, its own cottonhead people who just, you know, don't. Uh, Russian propaganda is crazy, and sometimes it's very lazy, but they're just so used to putting it out every day, every week, every year that it worms its way into people. Russians, Americans, other countries. That it's unfortunately it can be very effective. Um, Russia's bigger army. Oh, hold on. Air defense systems are in greatest need. The United Nations has said that Russia's relentless pounding of urban areas behind the front line has killed more than 12,000 Ukrainian civilians. Russia's bigger army is also making slow but costly progress along the 1,000-kilometer, 620-mile front line. Currently, it is waging an operation to take the eastern city of Pokrovsk, a logistical hub whose fall could allow it to drive deeper into Ukraine. European allies and Canada are buying most of the equipment they plan to send from the United States, which has greater stocks of ready military materiel as well as more effective weapons. The Trump administration is not giving any arms to Ukraine. So, yeah, right now it's European allies and Canada who are actually acquiring these things from the US and then sending them to Ukraine. Um, but you know what? I mean, the Trump administration isn't blocking it, and that's the
Yeah.
good thing. Also, the fact that I haven't heard so far, I could be proven wrong, but so far I haven't heard about any effective attempts to stop this. Um, as I mentioned before, Pete Hegseth, uh, I I do legitimately believe that that man uh, really, really loves Russia, but I also think he's really, really bad at his job. And I'm very glad that he's bad at his job because otherwise he could cause problems. uh,
No, I, I don't think he can really deal with Putin
no, no.
if he
Mhm.
do his job well, because this is structural.
Yeah.
I mean, for the diplomacy, Joe Biden was the expert. He,
Uh,
I
I,
mean, he really do diplomacy for decades.
yeah, yeah. I mean, with Joe Biden, it's more a few of the people in his administration, I'd say, who were more of the experts. Biden himself, I mean, he does have a long and impressive career in American politics,
Yeah.
but uh, I get so tired about talking about both Trump and Biden. Every time I talk about either Trump or Biden, a lot of people have their strong opinions, like, "Oh, he's so good at this, or he's so bad at that."
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I look at both of them, and I just see two old men with
yeah.
dementia
True,
who should be
true.
in a nursing home.
That's true. That's true.
um. Anyway, let's see. The new deliveries will come on top of pledges of military equipment. The Kiel Institute, which tracks support to Ukraine, estimates that as of June, European countries had provided 72 billion euros, $83 billion worth of military aid since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022, compared to $65 billion in US aid. Dutch Defense Minister Ruben Brekelmans said that American air defense systems and munitions in particular are crucial for Ukraine to defend itself. Announcing the deliveries Monday, he said Russia's attacks are pure terror intended to break Ukraine. Uh, yeah, Ruben Brekelmans. Hmm. President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed his gratitude to the Netherlands, posting on social media that Ukraine and thus the whole of Europe will be better protected from Russian terror. He said the deliveries are coming at a time when Russia is trying to scale up its strikes. This will definitely help protect the lives of our people. Here we have an image of a destroyed car. Emergency workers inspect a damaged car close to the multi-story residential house that was ruined by a Russian missile. Thursday night, killing 31 civilians, including 5 children in Kiev, Ukraine. And this is something that we're used to hearing now, which is just it's horrible. To but yeah, this is unfortunately something that happens every day, guys. and men, women, children, unarmed civilians, uh, American soldiers, of course. There's death every day right now in Ukraine, and it's been like this for 11 years since 2014. It was smaller in scale when the war was confined to just Crimea and part of uh,
The
Donbass.
Donbass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Donbass, Donetsk, and Luhansk. But now, of course, it is much more widespread, which
yeah,
we're all aware of. Germany said Friday it will deliver two more Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine in the coming days. It agreed to the move after securing assurances that the U.S. will prioritize the delivery of new Patriots to Germany to backfill its stocks. These weapon systems are only made in the U.S. And you see, we can see here a trend in this article. It really underscores the fact that Germany, the Netherlands, Canada, various other European allies such as Sweden, Denmark, Norway, multiple other countries as well, of course, um, all are providing everything that they can, well, providing a lot of what they can to Ukraine. Um, and I do believe there's more of it ramping up, but a lot of these systems are American made, and there is some, but there just isn't the same production capacity, or no, it's not even production capacity. It's um, just backstock, just extra surplus weapons in Europe. The weapons exist in America. That's where you get them from. You have to buy them and then you have to ship them. And this is something that we will keep hearing because Europe, until Europe has a real military wake up call and also is able to um, prevent more saboteurs like the Hungarian government, like the newest Slovakian government, like the threat of France, Germany, and a few other countries. Bulgaria is on the list if they're not careful, um, from falling under hyper conservative, far right, Russian influenced political parties. Um, you know, either there's a united stand in Europe against Russia, or the way things are going, it's not going to work out. Um, and so I applaud them for doing that, and I hope we see more domestic production in Europe soon, for the good of Europe, for the good of Ukraine, honestly, for the good of America too, because America needs some competition. You know what we all hate? We all hate a monopoly, and America has a lot of monopoly right now when it comes to providing weapons to people. um, all right, let me finish this article and then we'll discuss a little bit more. As an organization, NATO provides only non-lethal assistance to Ukraine, like uniforms, tents, medical supplies, and logistics support. The 32-nation military alliance has mostly sought to protect NATO territory from possible Russian attack and avoid being dragged into a war against a nuclear power. But its support role has expanded since U.S. President Donald Trump took office in January, even as his administration insists European allies must now take care of their own security and that of their war ravaged neighbor. Trump has made no public promise of weapons or economic support for Ukraine. Trump said on July 28th that the U.S. is going to be sending now military equipment and other equipment to NATO, and they'll be doing what they want. But I guess it's for the most part working with Ukraine. One thing that's not mentioned in this article with all this, though, it's not just weapons to Ukraine. There's also a very bitter, begrudging deal with Sweden and Denmark that's been penned
yes,
out recently, basically giving the United States expanded ability to quickly, at a moment's notice, whenever they want to station troops in those countries, to have more military bases, to potentially put nuclear weapons um, in more key locations across Europe. So, like I said before, there's the NATO approach, and then there's the U.S. approach, and the US is getting more aggressive even though it's not making headlines all the time. Anyway, so what are your thoughts on this, Kingwood?
Uh, for the European military industry, uh, the, this issue, I think the issue is not only by the right wing public opinion, it's by the habits, working habits of European. For example, I live in Berlin for 2 years for studying before in 2017 to 19, just before the pandemic. And
Hmm.
at that time, the average working hour in Germany is only 20 hours. And I asked many people there, only the immigrant will work in 4 hours, like 40 hours a week. The average is 20, which means there are more people less than 20 hours in a week.
Oh yeah.
So, but for the military industry, I mean, they need laborers, a lot of laborers in the industry, especially in the metals, in the chemicals, and there are many ecological, environmental restricts in Europe to do this investment.
Yeah.
So I I think this is not only the right wing public opinions problem.
Oh no, no. It's a systemic problem
Yeah,
across multiple countries. The sad thing is that in order to militarily combat or compete with, let's just say compete with countries like Russia, who basically just treat their own people like like wage slaves, and you know put them out to work for many many hours for almost nothing, producing lots and lots of weapons, or the United States, where um, geography and other historic details give it a very big military edge over the rest of the world. Um, you know, the only way you can do that really is doing things that aren't popular. Like, if you're gonna spend more on weapons than your military, the money has to come from somewhere. I mean,
yeah,
maybe it's healthcare, maybe it's uh, education funds, maybe it's I don't know, uh, environmental funds. You know, take your pick. There's dozens and dozens of different budget categories, but those are all very unpopular because the rest of Europe doesn't see itself like the United States, where sacrificing programs that benefits its citizens in order to have a very, very strong military is seen as like almost like a national cross to bear, almost like a
yeah.
like a necessity or a point of pride, a weird point of pride
Yeah.
for Americans. Um, Sometimes it's not pride. Sometimes it's really, really, it's a lot of
And then
anger.
the unemployment rate in Europe is high. That's
Yeah.
the issue. So they need a welfare.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, they need some unifying push. And I don't know what that's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be a flashpoint with Belarus. I don't know if it's going to be Russia actually attacking another country other than Ukraine, uh, getting a little too close to Western European borders. Um, it's it's slowly waking up, but Europe needs a bigger wake up call.
Yeah,
All right. Next, let's talk a little bit about, let's see, we're about an hour in. Let's talk a bit about stuff going on in the United States. So, first and foremost, hold on. Uh, we're going to talk about two we're going to talk about two topics in the US. Uh, so fun. First, let me put this in reader mode and let me share this from USA Today into the chat. All right. Trump says he probably won't run for a third term in 2028. Probably in quotes. Washington. President Donald Trump says he'd like to run for a third term, but is unlikely to pursue one. Now, this doesn't surprise me too much because Donald Trump, one thing that I like to point out to people is, this is why I always say he's a wannabe dictator, because he is the kind of person who will kind of just sometimes he'll get angry and go off and do his own chaotic thing, but he'll take advice from advisors around him. And since he doesn't have loyalty from the US military to actually be a dictator, take full control, fully dismantle the democracy, arrest or kill people who disagree with him or make fun of him, etc., a lot of his power comes from people letting him do what he wants because of how broken the American legal system is. And so
That's not all his fault.
yeah, that's a an issue that's been around
Let's
for
be
a
honest.
while. Yeah. And so because of that, running for a third term, who knows, he might change his mind. He does that a lot, but it would come with major legal challenges and he's already facing a lot of those. I think that it would be something he also if he did that, more and more Democrats are more willing to do things like match Republicans in gerrymandering. Basically, Republicans cheat and Democrats are saying fuck it, we'll cheat too. Is what they're doing. So if he were to run for a third term, I think that Barack Obama would possibly run for a third term or someone else who would be an unexpected strong opponent against him. Um, so yeah. Anyway, it was his firmest indication yet that he is not looking to change or bypass the constitutional limit set out in the 22nd Amendment to compete for president in 2028. When asked in a CNBC interview whether he would run again, Trump said no, probably not. Probably not, he said a second time with a laugh. And the Constitution restricts presidents to 2 terms in office. Trump is on his second non consecutive term, having previously led the nation from 2017 to 2021. To change the Constitution, Trump would need the support of 2/3 of the House and Senate, or he could call for a constitutional convention. He would need 2/3 of the country's state legislatures to approve a constitutional convention and 3/4 of the states to ratify it, which would never happen in modern American politics right now. Allies of Trump, such as former political advisor and far right podcaster Steve Bannon, have said that the Republicans should try to seek a third term, and Trump has repeatedly teased the possibility since returning to office in January. In his August 5th interview with CNBC, he said he'd like to run again, even as he indicated he did not plan to mount another campaign. Now, to point this out, this, of course, doesn't mean that he won't try. After all, he is currently accepted as the U.S. president, even though he was, convicted as a felon, which under American law should mean that he is ineligible to be president. But obviously, that law was just ignored. So, I mean, unfortunately, America's in a bit of it is in a constitutional crisis, where the Constitution itself is kind of more of a guideline than a solid law, legal contract right now. That is the way that this government sees it. I'd like to run. I have the best poll numbers I've ever had. You know why? Because people love the tariffs, Trump said.
In gestures.
Yeah, exactly. Trump has refrained from endorsing a successor and declined to endorse Vice President J.D. Vance for the role in February. Vance has dodged questions about a possible 2028 presidential bid and deferred to Trump on his political future. Secretary of State Marco Rubio helped clear the way for Vance in a Fox News interview last month. He said Vance would have his support in 2028 and encouraged him to compete. One really big thing to note about this also is it doesn't surprise me because of how narcissistic he is that Trump is not, especially since it's only 2025, trying to endorse any kind of a successor. because I don't think he'd be very good at it. I think he would get very jealous of that person getting attention instead of him. But with it's not like the Russian system or other countries' systems where it's a consecutive presidential term that is illegal. Like I think it was because of the I think it was because of Russian law, but way back, Vladimir Putin basically put in a there was another person who took over as president for him for one term, and then he came straight back and became president again.
Yeah.
So he was basically just a president from the shadows. Um, I can't remember what year that was, but that happened a long time ago. Donald Trump can't do that because the U.S. law just says no. It doesn't matter if it's two times in a row or if it takes 8 years or 16 years before your second term. After two
Oh, really?
terms, yeah, after two terms, a person cannot legally be president again.
Oh, no, no matter what, right?
Well, assuming the Constitution is followed.
Oh, only if in war like the Roosevelt Jr.
Yeah, so well, it wasn't actually always like that because where it says here, where was it? The 20 oh, it's up here. Yeah, the 22nd Amendment. Yeah, this was after World War II. Um and was it Eisenhower? Basically, during World War II, the president at the time used some sweeping executive powers to do some things that actually were not fully approved by Congress, such as the Lend-Lease program to give weapons to the British to fight against the Nazis.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so there was a lot of division and there was a lot of political fighting over whether to get involved and how to get involved helping Europe. Um, because of that, because there was so much presidential power used, the 22nd Amendment wound up being passed, which that it was because of that presidency that the limits were put in place. But before that, it's crazy. Before the 1940s, yeah, a person could be president as many times as they wanted to. Um, but anyway, let's see. Yeah. So anyway, I basically just see this as a snappy headline, a flashy headline, because who knows, he might change his mind tomorrow. But what do you think? As far as when we get closer to the U.S. presidential election in 2028, do you think that Donald Trump will just break the rules and try to run as president again, or do you think that he'll just basically move on, try to find some way to make a lot of money, continue to be influential as a political icon, but, actually be willing to pass it on to some other horrible person from his circle?
I have to ask you a question because I don't really know American society. I
Uh-huh.
have never been United States before,
Hmm.
never. And what do people really think about the tariffs?
It depends on who you ask. Most educated people um, are very aware that they are stupid and they don't do anything to benefit the United States or anyone else.
Yeah.
Um, some, well, a lot of people who don't understand tariffs at all just nod their head and say, "Oh, Donald Trump said it's good, therefore, yes, I think it's good." And then there are some who I guess I would call them maybe. Do you know the personality type, like the Wall Street gambler, the risk taker, the kind of
Okay.
person
Yeah.
who's fairly smart, knows how to make money, knows how to kind of manipulate people, kind of get under their skin, able to make deals and come out on top while other people lose everything. I think there are some educated people in the United States who see this and say, yeah, this is absolutely stupid, but it is creating chaos. It's destroying relations and opportunities in the US, but those are the kind of people who don't look just at the US. They look at the global market and global opportunities. So
Be-
if one door closes in America and new ones start opening in Europe or even business with like China, for example, and they can make a profit from it, um, sometimes the damaging of one country's reputation to fill that void, it creates international opportunities for for political and business opportunists.
yes, but what I want to ask is the tariff itself are the purpose or just the way for international how to say uh, negotiation?
I'm pretty sure that the tariffs. And I was reading an article about this not too long ago.
It's not the purpose that people just want to get money from the tariffs,
Uh,
or they just want to use tariff as the hint to ask all of the countries it trade to to give them more benefit.
um, hold on. I'm sorry. Let me back up. Are you asking me to um, explain the reasoning behind why they're doing the tariffs, or how the tariffs actually work as an economic
Yeah,
tool or
yes,
weapon?
yeah.
The second one.
Yeah, I ask which one is the people, the public opinion who support the tariff believe.
Those who support the tariffs, if I'm remembering correctly, some of them are basically just ignorant and think that putting a tariff on goods means that other countries will pay extra money in order to do business, or rather to sell goods in the United States, and that will incentivize American manufacturers to have to fill the void. Basically, other countries will reduce their trade with the US, and that will force Americans to produce more. It's not a smart strategy, but that's what the kind of people who support the tariffs are the kind of nationalists who believe that one country can do everything, produce everything, can be fully um, self-sufficient and doesn't need to do too much trading with the rest of the world, which is
So the
ridiculous.
tariff is the purpose.
So I think that some of them have different views on it, but yeah, the tariff. The reason why groups like Project 2025, for example, they mention the tariffs a lot in their strategies, is because they're xenophobic, they're isolationist, they're trying to take the United States back to a time like the Industrial Revolution, when the United States used to produce a lot of actual physical things, kind of like China does today, um, which is not ever going to happen unless they destroy labor laws in the United States. But that's also one of their goals with things with Project 2025. Part of it is to lay a foundation to transform the United States from a country. The best way I can put it is, China exploits their own labor in their own country and treats them horribly. The United States exploits other countries' workers who get treated horribly, and the United States makes a profit from that.
Yeah,
Part of it, part of it is to damage relations, economic relations with other countries to the
yeah.
point that the United States is forced to treat its poor workers, its blue class, its blue collar workers, um, worse, to have to, destroy labor laws and basically make them like Chinese workers, or like before the Industrial Revolution, when children were allowed to work inside of factories in America.
I don't think that would be so serious because they can import immigrants.
But remember, they're trying to crack down on immigrants. They're trying to force all the immigrants out.
Yeah, but they need money and stuff. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
economy.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's interesting because even though there's
You
a
can
lot.
fulfill the triangles. You only can get two of them.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But you try to explain that to some of the people who support this stuff.
Yeah,
It's yeah.
because in Taiwan, like the public opinion belief is the second one. They don't believe the American really want to do this shit by their own because
Mm.
they export this industry to other countries. They are reasoning it because it's very difficult to maintain.
Yeah.
Costly.
Well, and another thing is it's very unrealistic, especially with how, in many ways, incompetent this current government under Donald Trump has handled many of the things it's trying to change, it's trying to do to alter American society. Um, I think part of it could also be, Donald Trump himself just says wild and crazy random things, but when he says things like annexing or invading, putting troops on Greenland, or making Canada the 51st state, things like that. Um, there are fringe groups of Americans who associate themselves with Trump or try to, that want to do things like uh, Alberta province, Alberta, Canada, and Saskatchewan, Canada. Are you familiar with those parts of Canada? So
No.
there's kind of a nickname for some of the political opinions of there, like Maple MAGA. There are two parts of Canada that are very politically conservative. There are a lot of people there who support, not a whole lot, but there are a fringe, large group of people who support Donald Trump, support separating from Canada and becoming part of the United States. And
Oh,
there's some American conservatives, the far right in America, who kind of communicate with those people. They introduced a referendum that's supposed to take part next year, I think, in Canada, to see if that province wants to separate and then vote to become part of America. So all of these things are unlikely. They're not ever going to happen, but they create chaos. And if in theoretically at some point the United States invaded Greenland or manufactured a, a bullshit vote and somehow, annexed part of Canada, um, the United States does not want another state. Let me repeat that. The United States does not want an actual 51st state because that costs money. You have to give them defense, you have to give them equal rights, you have to give them all that. What the United States under a crazy person like Trump would want is a territory, a very big Puerto Rico with an exploitable workforce who don't have all the benefits of full citizens. So anyway, that's their crazy plan. Some of them have this crazy plan of finding a way to force certain people in North American societies to become the new more exploitable working class, and then take economic profit from that and push isolationism and nationalism.
because in yesterday or today in your time zone,
Uh huh.
Trump just says that TSMC, Taiwanese chip uh, manufacturer,
Uh huh.
want to suspending 300 billion in Arizona.
Oh, yeah. I think. Wait, was it Arizona?
And
Uh huh.
most of Taiwanese people think that it's robbery.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is. It is robbery. Like, yeah, because the way they look at it is like this. In the short term, even if other countries don't like it, because there's such a reliance on certain things from, um, and I don't just mean the direct trade from tariffs, but maintaining relations with the United States so that other things like military cooperation, probably being the biggest one, don't come into jeopardy with the US. They're banking on that military reliance to put pressure on other governments to pay the tariffs and get ripped off basically, so they don't risk losing that.
And it will impact the
Yeah,
DVB's support rate
yeah, yeah, exactly.
because they didn't tell us the truth.
Yeah,
The truth is the tariff is the reason they want all industry back to United States, not just negotiate with you. They want to take it.
yeah. Well, there's multiple reasons why they're doing. Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah,
I accept that. But every country has their interest. But our
yeah,
government never tell us the
yeah,
truth.
yeah. I know exactly, exactly.
So
No,
that makes them awkward. That makes them embarrassing.
yeah, no, I agree. No, it's horrible, and it's it's not even just about the tariffs and the
I mean, we will
uh,
not stop. We will not stop without the chip. We
yeah,
have
no,
strong industry,
yeah,
the
yeah,
traditional industry,
yeah,
and they are in here for decades. They can't just like a chip industry. They just move away if this place is not competitive enough. So we don't afraid that.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, many people are afraid that, but I don't afraid that.
Right, right,
I'm
right.
not afraid that. I mean, I mean we are having the war with China. What else were you afraid of?
Yeah, exactly.
But the people, it's not Americans' fault, but it's our government's fault. People in Taiwan don't realize it clearly, so they have the wrong expectation. Yeah, they have wrong expectation for the Taiwan American relationship.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
we have a comment from Thorben Thorn. Saw some guy calculating that a landing operation on Taiwan isn't feasible for China. Um, that is correct at this
yeah,
time.
that's true.
China's plan is twofold. Basically, they have a plan A and they have a plan B. Plan A is to, and we see it with the meddling in Taiwanese politics, to find some way to start a civil war or to take full uh, control of a puppet political party. Basically, gain indirect control over Taiwan, kind of like Russia with Belarus, is a very good comparison. Turn Taiwan into kind of like a Belarus. And then have Taiwan basically eventually destroy its own democracy with meddling from China, and put a dictator into Taiwan who would then say, yes, of course we want to rejoin with China. If Plan A,
Probably not a
yeah,
detector.
yeah,
The
yeah,
detector will not listen to others.
yeah, yeah,
Puppet, puppet. Yeah.
yeah, it's a puppet, exactly. And if Plan A doesn't work, their plan is, because their military is growing, and the United States is focused on many other places in the world, and Taiwan, um, is not as big, of course, doesn't have as large a population or military as China itself, to eventually change the cost benefit analysis so that it would be feasible and it would be worth the risk. So their plan is a long-term one. If I had to describe it, it's like a, I don't know, 20 to 50-year plan. Do you think that's maybe accurate? Or a little bit
Like
short, or a
he
shorter
said,
time frame?
like in Hong Kong.
Yes, yeah, like because Hong
Mm.
Kong slowly had its institutions
But
dismantled.
Hong Kong doesn't have their military.
No, they don't.
Not,
It's not the same, but it's
yeah,
it's it's similar in the idea that there were big protests and there was like fist fights and all that in the street, but Hong Kong was always inevitably going to fall the way that it did because there was no military. But
yeah.
China took its time because what they didn't want, what they didn't want? They didn't want to have another Tiananmen Square. And that's why they took their time with Hong Kong.
Like Chinese army, they have 2,000 missiles targeting Taiwan, and we have 6,000 targeting them.
Exactly,
We have
exactly.
more missiles targeting them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Next. let's do one more article and then we'll move on because we're already an hour and a half into this. The last thing I want to go over, let me pull it up real fast. Uh, yeah. Da, 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 da. Majority. Yes. We'll do this one from The Guardian. We'll get some news from the British. Uh, Hold on, let me double check this really fast. Yeah, we're going to go through this. It's a little bit of a longer article, but we're going to go through a good portion of this to close out, talk a little bit about um, fighting against tyranny and how that's being done right now in the United States. Uh, And also, before I open this article, I want to mention just like how the Ukraine war started long before 2022, what I'm about to read here has been happening a lot longer than just 2016 or 2024 and 2025. Um, so yeah, keep that in mind. This is very bad right now, but it's been happening literally for decades. Okay, share. So from The Guardian, we're going to discuss right quick. People are scared to go out. Fear of ICE agents forces cancellation of U.S. summer festivals. This is a pretty important topic for me because I, I think I've mentioned basically in a lot of streams. I travel a lot. I have uh, many friends in Mexico, the United States, and Canada who I visit pretty regularly. Um, and it's bad. I have people who have been directly affected by this. I'm sure a lot of other people watching probably do as well. Um, and let me throw this in the chat. All right. For Orlando Gutierrez in Kansas City, the thought of canceling his community's Summer Colombian Independence Day Festival first surfaced the week after the inauguration in January, when the raids started happening. The decision was rooted in trying to be safe, Gutierrez said. We're not talking about folks that are irregular in terms of their immigration status. You only have to look a certain way and speak a certain language, and then you're in danger. This is very true. I have a friend who is an American citizen who happens to have darker skin and be bilingual. She was detained and questioned for several hours before eventually being let go. And she was lucky. There are people being held for days or weeks. For decades prior to 2025, the event had gone on interrupted, in rain, in extreme heat, and hosted thousands of Colombians and non Colombians alike, Gutierrez said. Our mission is to share our culture with people that don't know it, he added. To not have the opportunity, that's where it hurts the most. In Donald Trump's second term as president, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has been historically expansionist. It now aims for an unprecedented 3,000 minimum arrests a day. Its agents have thrown undocumented people, residents with protected legal status, and even American citizens into a deportation system that increasingly does not respect due process. Um, we have had several people die in ICE custody. There is a Canadian citizen who died earlier this year at the border being held by ICE in unsafe conditions. Out of fear of being targeted indiscriminately. Cultural and musical events from coast to coast, block parties and summer concerts in California, Mexican heritage celebrations in Chicago, soccer fan watch parties in Massachusetts have been postponed or canceled altogether. Even religious gatherings are no longer perceived as safe from ICE. In San Bernardino, California, Bishop Alberto Rojas has dispensed his congregation from the obligation to attend Mass out of fear of deportation raids. For Mexican, for Latino Catholic churches, that's a big thing because for elderly people, it is very sinful or shameful to miss church on a Sunday. So it's very easy to predict where people will be. Every decision to cancel is heartbreaking in Philadelphia. Carnaval de Puebla, which was scheduled for April, made the call to cancel in February, said organizer Olga Renteria. We believe this is not a time to celebrate, Renteria explained, but a time to remain united, informed, and strong. In Los Angeles, organizers of Festival Chapin, a celebration of Guatemalan culture, have postponed the event from this August to October. It was really hard to take that decision, Walter Rosales, a restaurateur, and one of the event's organizers told The Guardian. We have a lot of attendees, more than 50,000 people every year. People have hotels, they have flights, we hire people to be there, but I think it was the best choice. The first thing we want is the security of the people. Here you see festival organizers want ICE agents to stop wearing masks. Photo by David Lee Delgado from Reuters. And this is a super common trend. And obviously, if you've ever seen SWAT, Special Weapons and Tactics Police in the United States, it's not uncommon throughout American history for certain special units within American police to hide their faces because they could legitimately be assassinated by cartels, criminal organizations. I mean, corruption exists, massive criminal organizations exist, and police do get assassinated. However, this is now the norm right now with immigration police, which has not been the case to this at this scale, where you will constantly find police and fake police, deputized mercenaries, hiding their faces and kidnapping people to take them to what are essentially concentration camps without ever seeing a judge.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let me go through this a little bit more. All right. Rosales said he hopes that by waiting a few months, Festival Chapin can take place amid a different political climate, one in which ICE sticks to promises made by Trump to target primarily undocumented people with criminal records. But mass raids are likely to get more frequent. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act legislation forced through Congress by Republicans and signed into law by Trump on the 4th of July will slash social programs while funding ICE at levels comparable to the budget of the U.S. Army. If I'm not mistaken, this ICE, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, all of the new people they're hiring, they will have more funding than the United States Marine Corps, which essentially makes them a private army for Donald Trump. Um, yeah, yeah, exactly. It's a big problem. It means that even huge stars are questioning whether concerts are safe for their fans. When the Puerto Rican superstar Bad Bunny announced a recent tour that skips the continental US altogether, social media speculation centered on the notion that the artist did not want to put his fans in ISIS crosshairs. Again, what I mentioned before about the crazy idea of making some neighboring country into a territory, like Puerto Rico. Anyone who has ever been to Puerto Rico or knows Puerto Rican people, they will tell you even though technically they are supposed to be respected and treated as American citizens as anyone else, in practice, it's not really the case. All right.
True.
Um, that theorizing was in part
Like
fueled.
Taiwanese in
Oh,
Japanese spirit.
like the witch in Japanese period. Oh, Taiwan.
Yeah,
Or
like Taiwanese
oh,
people as Japanese subjects,
yep, exactly,
but they
exactly.
don't treat you as Japanese.
Yeah, yeah. When it comes to the U.S., places like Puerto Rico, Guam, American Samoa, they're very small and they easily kind of get forgotten, but it really is a it's a pretty big problem the way that it is a very big problem the way that a lot of the people are treated from all of those places under the American system. It could be worse. It could be like West Papua. Are you familiar? I think we've talked about West Papua and the colonialism, the occupation by the Indonesian military. I mean, it's not that bad, but it's still very bad. All right, let's go. So this is all about Bad Bunny. Oh yeah. Uh, Bad Bunny's own dips into the wider political conversation. He's called ICE agents sons of bitches on social media, and his Nueva Yol video, in which the Statue of Liberty is garlanded with the Puerto Rican flag, is a lovely and grand ode to New York's immigrants. People celebrate Colombia's Independence Day in Queens and New York here. All right. let's see. This is a lot more about groups that are avoiding the U.S. Uh, Musicians who are standing against the Trump administration in protest. All right, here we go. Let's see, in Illinois. Aha, museum's plan. All right, so here we go. The president has taken away people's health care so he can hire more ICE agents to terrorize communities, added Ramirez. But that doesn't mean there's no oversight or accountability. At a time where the federal government wants to harm you, we will keep each other safe. For Ramirez, Barrio Arts Festival was a beautiful showing of people saying to ICE, not here, not now, not ever. And this is Delia Ramirez, an Illinois congresswoman. Beyond her support for local cultural events, Ramirez is attempting to push back on ICE action more broadly. She's a co sponsor of the No Anonymity in Immigration Enforcement Act, which would prohibit ICE from the now common practice of carrying out their deportation actions while masked. People are freaking the hell out, she said. They don't know whether it's an ICE agent who's going to criminalize them with no due process or it's someone who wants to rob them. No other law enforcement agency does this. And this is a major problem in the United States right now, aside from the horrible treatment of anyone, even if you're just trying to go to the United States for vacation. I tell people this: don't go to the United States right now. It is not safe. If you are not, even if you are an American citizen, if you're not an American citizen who looks and speaks the way that Donald Trump and his circle think that you should, it's not a safe place to be right now. And when it comes to this hiding of faces, aside from all the horrible things ICE itself is doing, a lot of robberies, a lot of theft, a lot of rapes, a lot of crimes have been committed by criminals who pretend to be them because it's very easy. If they don't identify themselves, it's very easy for anyone to put on a mask, grab a gun, and pretend that they are an ICE agent in America right now. Um, we're almost to the end of this. Oh, wait, no, we're not. But we're not going to go through the whole thing because it is a rather long article. What I want to finish with is.
Would you participate this festival?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're still happening, they're being rescheduled. But the big thing is protests are happening all the time. Festivals are still happening. I've been part of security details. And there's both unarmed and armed security details. I mean, people are really organizing. So, thankfully, there's been no violence, but yeah, I know multiple groups in several states. Some of them, of course, insist no weapons, civil rights, the kind of civilian, passive aggressive, well, peaceful resistance like Martin Luther King Jr. And you have other groups that are thankfully not engaging in violence, but taking more of the Malcolm X approach or the Black Panther approach, where they go out and they do things, but they have their pistols and they have their rifles with them. So a lot of things are happening in America related to this one topic right now, all over the country. So we'll finish with uh, newly flush with cash, thanks to the Big Beautiful Bill Act, ICE is now actively recruiting waves of new agents to, in their words, quote, defend the homeland by offering $50,000 signing bonuses and student loan forgiveness. Tom Homan, the Trump administration's border czar, has promised to flood the zone with ICE agents in New York and other sanctuary cities. I think it goes without saying, it's primarily focusing people who are not white. So anyone, whether they are
Or the Tsar?
yeah, borders are exactly, exactly. And this has been around for many, many years, and I hate it for some stupid reason. Despite
Brilliant.
Russia, there are 20 different czars in America. Every time
Or
there borders
Tsar.
are it's I
Everybody
know
names it as a
ah
vegan.
Yeah. No, there's a border Assad, there's a nuclear weapons Assad, there's a military advisement Assad. There's a lot of for some reason whenever one person becomes so important across multiple government agencies and businesses that they
As
become
you say, American really hate Russia.
the Amer
Why they don't let Kaiser? Kaiser is German term, right?
Yeah, if they use Caesar, then it would
And
be
the king is probably England term.
yeah. Yeah. Well, Donald Trump definitely thinks he's a king. Um, but all of this, why it's so important is, like I said, hopefully they will fail. But aside from all of this to remove people, Steve Bannon and a few others within Trump's circle have mentioned wanting to introduce two things which are deeply concerning for America. One is introducing some kind of law or legislation to make it so that American citizenship depends on having ancestors who fought in the Revolutionary or Civil Wars, which actually is stupid. It wouldn't work because many people, including Mexicans, including people of Native
Donald
American,
Trump is a barbarian.
he's yeah, exactly, exactly. He wouldn't, yeah. Well, and that's the thing. They want to do it's really stupid. They're trying to come up with these ideas of how they can make citizenship exclusive just to basically to white Americans. And they're very incompetent. They can't find a way to do it that would even with their horrible thinking work with whatever ridiculous legal attempt they want to make. But the other thing they're trying to do, which is more concerning, I'd say, is talk about an American Office of Remigration. And are you familiar with the term remigration? It's a European.
Migration.
Yeah, remigration is
Who to where?
so it's a very uh, racist, controversial European political concept uh, where people in a country including if they are citizens, are forced to go back to whatever country their ancestors were from. So it's basically this idea of forcing people who aren't part of the majority ethnic group or incentivizing them with money or something else to leave and not return back to their homeland, which
So
is
United States will be an Aboriginal country.
Well, exactly. It's like exactly because all of the Native Americans would be the only ones left. um, but yeah. Uh, anyway, that is a lowdown of some of the stuff happening. Um,
And
yeah.
many Latinos has how to say Hispanic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have Aboriginal inheritance,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
You
they
know
can
the
conquer the United States by this law.
yeah. You know the. Well, you know the craziest thing is yeah, there are a lot of Latinos in the United States, some who have ties to the native tribes in Mexico and South America, but then there are also plenty of families who have ties to the tribes in North America, in the United States and Canada, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly, exactly. And a lot of and also because in the southern United States, a lot of that land was part of Mexico. They were there before the United States invaded. So yeah, they have history that goes back further. Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, that was a long article, but what are your thoughts on this? I don't know if you have been seeing news reports about this in Taiwan. What do you think regarding what's happening in America with this?
I mean, uh, although I'm not a fan with the huge migration
Mm,
because we Taiwan have that before and it was a total tragedy.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like Chinese immigrants, 2 millions come to Taiwan and have division chaos until now,
yeah.
and they wipe out the local cultures. They
Mm,
really did that. So there was 93% people speak Taiwanese before the World War II, but now only in the newest generation, like under 10 years old people, there are only 7% speaking Taiwanese.
yeah. It is a big tragedy. Exactly.
Yeah, but I think take times that because the conflict by the globalization, I mean, it's all mixed together. I
Yeah.
mean,
There's
there are
also.
always immigrants go to United States in
Mhm.
many different races and ethnicity, but unless they are all Americanized, they accept the American culture and identity.
Yeah.
And I believe by the globalization, the speed of migration became too fast, so people can't handle it. I
Yeah.
believe that's the issue, but it becomes chaos to do. Probably they react too slowly, so
There's
now
also a.
now they do it hard way. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, 光棍 哦，哇！It's a Happy Father's Day.
啊 that's awesome.
No, he speak English. Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
Yeah. Even he don't speak Taiwanese.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the big thing, and there's a big difference between economic immigration to get someplace, grassroots, a lot of individual people choosing it because they want a better life, compared to um, colonialism, imperialism, you
Yeah,
know.
that's totally different.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Cause,
Because we,
mhm,
our ancestors, Taiwanese, we come to the island. We also like American. We wipe out some of the indigenous people, but we establish this society from nothing. So we are not as like the those like Chinese immigrant. They just come to our society and take our place. That's
yeah,
different things.
exactly. Yeah, and that's exactly. And the worst part is the threat of it happening again. Like I said before, Greenland is majority native Greenlander,
Yeah,
indigenous.
yes,
Um, and just like Hawaii, that would change if America invaded, if America started bringing
true.
American citizens in, you know, forcing the practices, all of that, with military force,
But I
basically.
think the weather will stop it.
Yeah, I think they will. I don't think that any of that
I
will
mean,
happen.
The weather in Hawaii are too nice, so they can't stop it.
Wait, oh, Greenland, you mean?
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Hawaii, the weathers in Hawaii are too nice, and the beach are too nice, so they can't stop the people go there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It,
but Greenland is another story.
yeah, exactly. All right, but anyway, um, so let me end on a note with if you want to assist Taiwan, then be sure to check the donation link in the video description, everybody, for the radios. We'll have that closed out very soon. Donations are definitely appreciated, so we can finish that up. And then we'll move on to more fundraisers. For Ukraine, we still have our long-term uh, fundraiser. The link for that is on every other video. Uh, I'll get that up on this one too. Um, on Monobank or yeah, Monobank was the best way to donate for that. Uh, or PayPal to Anton. Um, we also have confirmation that the 3D printers that we got money for, those are on their way to um, the workshop in Ukraine that Sophie uh, is associated with, that she's helping out. And finally, uh, let me pull something up. Uh, if you want to get involved and assist with in the United States with the craziness happening with illegal kidnapping, abducting, forcing people out without ever seeing a judge, then be sure to check out the Immigrant Defense Project. Um, they have resources on ways you can get plugged in and involved, know your legal rights. For both citizens and residents, even if you're not a citizen, you have legal rights in America. Everyone needs to know that. ICE Out of Courts campaign. You can click here to see it in Spanish. Um, they've got maps of where raids are occurring, ways to train community members on encounters with ICE, uh, learn about their raids and tactics, how they operate, and they have a legal helpline if you know someone who is in need of legal support or even just to find out where they are, because sometimes people will be disappeared and no one will know where they are for weeks or months. So I will put the link to that in the chat. And yeah, I think that's about it as far as the stuff to cover. Do you have other stuff you want to talk about with oh yeah, sorry, I just saw your message. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for being here. And yeah, uh Slava Ukraini for Ukraine and uh defense to
Slava
Taiwan.
Ukraini.
All right.
Balsoi.
All right. Bye
Taiwan
everybody.
Balsoi.